most pleasing sensation anyone ever had comes while gliding down after a parachute jump. Aviatrix Dagmar Stegemann, Niles Daily Star article, September 21st, 1925. In 1903, the Wright brothers made history when they took to the sky at Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, although us Niles locals might consider Augustus Herring's 1899 flight on Silver Beach in St. Joseph a first in aviation history. Air travel emerged as a new, increasingly possible form of transportation in the early 1900s. In Niles, Michigan, the first Aeroplane Express arrived at Parker Field on August 21st, 1919. Hordes of local residents gathered to watch the biplane arrive from Chicago with a shipment of clothing items for the Charles Julius Company. In 1925, a group of local citizens organized the Niles Airway Company, which offered passenger service to Chicago and flying lessons to those brave enough to attempt this newfangled form of transportation. An advertisement for the Niles Airway Company in the paper proclaimed, "Future transportation will be in the air. Aviation means a new line of employment for which there will be an ever-growing need of aviators. Consider this. The demand for aviators is great. It will be greater. But very few men are as yet learning the art. Therefore, jobs are assured and wages are high. What greater opportunity can you look forward to? Let's discuss it." Unsurprisingly, people were wary of early air travel, and with good reason. News of accidents and crashes made many prefer to stay on the ground. To alleviate these fears, the Niles Airway Company hosted regular events, first at Parker Field and later at the Niles Municipal Airport. Events included glider building contests, plane races, and of course, exhibitions where aviators performed daring and dangerous stunts. For a small fee, Niles residents could ride in an airplane for a view of the scenic landscape surrounding Niles. Exhibition of wing walking at Niles Airway Field on Sunday, May 16th. Passenger trips to Cloudland give you a view of Niles and surrounding country that you have never before witnessed. Ride in a Niles Airway plane. Advertisement from Niles Daily Star, May 15th, 1926. On August 2nd, 1925, the Niles Airway Company hosted an exhibition with Bill Armstrong, hailed as one of America's foremost stunt flyers. Newspaper advertisements promised stunts in the air, plenty of them, all thrillers. For all of the excitement, firsts, and successes, accidents did happen. On August 13th, 1925, Niles pilot Joseph Donnellan, stunt rider Bill Armstrong, and 3 others were forced to make an emergency landing near Niles Buchanan Road when a hood came loose on one of the company's 6 passenger airplanes. The Niles Airways Company most tragic event, however, occurred 100 years ago, on October 18th, 1925. Born in Copenhagen, Denmark, on January 4th of 1904, Dagmar Stegemann came to the United States in 1925 to live with her aunt, Hansine Henson, in Chicago. The young woman learned to parachute jump while in Denmark. According to one article in the Niles Daily Star, Stegemann told a reporter that she made her first flight with the armed air forces in her native home and became such an expert at it that she took it up as a profession. Dagmar traveled through the Michiana area with her exhibition show in the summer and fall of 1925, including stops in Cassopolis, Michigan, and Goshen, Indiana. In September, Stegemann started a series of stunt shows at the Niles Airways Field. An advertisement for Stegman's show on September 20th proclaimed, "Let's get acquainted! See Miss Dagmar Stegemann walk the wings and do other death-defying stunts for you!" On October 17th, the Niles Airways announced a Ladies' Day, where the ladies of Niles had an opportunity to ride in an airplane for a special price of $3.50. The following day, Dagmar would make a parachute leap from an airplane at Niles Airway Company's field. When the show began that Sunday, Niles Airway pilot Willis Bill Kaiser took Stegemann 1,000 feet up into the air. Working in this cold upper atmosphere, Stegemann had decided to wear a thick jacket that day to stay warm. The Aviatrix then climbed out onto the wing and prepared for her leap, but an error occurred. Wearing her thick jacket, her movement was slightly inhibited, and she slipped into a prone position beneath the plane wings. She was unable to release her parachute or to climb back up onto the wing to reset. Instead, she dangled from the airplane above the field for over a half hour while Kaiser and others tried to find a solution to get her up to safety. Kaiser knew that he couldn't land the plane without dragging her along the runway under the plane. Eventually, the pilot decided that the best course of action was to drop her into the water at the nearby barren lake. With this in mind, Kaiser flew low to the ground, just above the airport, yelling his plan to those below. Flying toward Barren Lake, Kaiser circled the area, gradually lowering Stegemann closer to the water. Meanwhile, rescuers were sent out in rowboats, ready to assist. According to newspapers, Kaiser cut the engine and told Dagmar the plan to loosen the safety belt and then drop into the water when they were closer to the lake. Unfortunately, there was a misunderstanding, and Stegemann unbuckled her safety belt and dropped into the water while the plane was still 200 feet in the air, approximately the height of a modern-day water tower. One rescuer in a boat, Joe Goodman, helped to keep the head of the unconscious Dagmar Stegemann afloat as others got her into a boat. Stegemann was rushed to Riverview Hospital on South 3rd Street in Niles, where, despite the medical team's best efforts, the 21-year-old died about an hour after her rescue from the lake. A funeral for Dagmar Stegemann occurred a few days after her tragic death at the Niles Presbyterian Church. Her aunt and cousins from Chicago were in attendance, along with many local residents. Niles Airway Company pilots served as pallbearers. Stegmann's mother in Denmark, who learned of the tragedy through newspapers in Copenhagen, wrote a letter to Mrs. Mace Lloyd, with whom Stegemann boarded while in Niles. Her mother thanked the Niles community for the kindness shown to her daughter, noting the friends that she made while in the city. Mrs. Lloyd also raised funds to erect a granite marker at Stegmann's gravesite here in Silverbrook Cemetery. The marker, etched with images of an airplane and a parachute, was placed in 1927 and decorated with flowers by local friends. While this tragic event shook the Niles Airway Company, the organization continued. A year later, in 1926, pilots Jim Williams and Bill Kaiser, the same pilot on that ill-fated day, scattered roses over the city during a Niles Fall Fest in memory of Dagmar Stegemann. 2 years later, in 1928, the company started daily passenger service to Chicago, Illinois, and that same year, the city of Niles leased Parker Field for use as a municipal airport. The airport was later expanded and renamed to honor industrialist Jerry Tyler in 1950 and is still an active airport in Niles today. Standards for airplanes and safety gear improved with federal laws and the formation of national organizations dedicated to aviation safety standards. Although stunt events still carry a risk of danger, the Niles Airway Company's early advertisements noting that future transportations will be in the air proved true as billions of people around the world travel by airplanes every year.